Hello, good afternoon, or good morning for you, Allysha Lavino. It's so precious to have this chat today. I've been so excited.
Oh,
Um,
thank you for having me, Susie. This is an amazing connection.
it's wonderful, and I love Substack for those connections. I love it. Um, I've got all sorts of questions, and all sorts. I know you have all sorts of magic lined up every time you speak, Allysha. I was just saying, magic. It becomes magic. Um, What my first question is, in your beautiful Substack publication and the link below, I'll put the link below. You're in your about page. Welcome to Mystery, Magic, and Mayhem. You start with these beautiful words, or one of your paragraphs says, "Beneath the noise of everyday life exists a wild and beautiful world. This is a gathering place for those who see and sense, or long to see and sense, the wider reality all around us." And I love that. And I would just love for you to speak to what is magic to you on a day-to-day basis? What is remembering our magic?
What a great question and such a fun place to start. Um, when I talk about magic, I am actually talking about the physics of the invisible world. So we can say inside of science that you and I here are having a conversation, that we're breathing air, and we can measure that with the scientific tools we have. But then there's this place where science lets off. So we can see love happening in the brainwaves, but we all have a sense that when you love, something more is happening beyond what we're able to measure. And that's what I call magic. There's this entire reality happening. And whether that's the ability to talk to trees, we've just figured out that trees talk to each other. We didn't know that 50 years ago in the way that we know it now. But can a human talk to a tree and get an answer? We can't measure that inside of science, but we can have a really profound experience with that phenomenon. And so that's where my work is. It's the real laws, the actual tangible and grounded practices that lead to repeatable experiences with invisible, magical phenomena.
That is so beautiful. And as you were talking there, I remembered my lack of magic for not actually having you introduce what it is that you do. What is your magic in the world? What do you, because I love what you write about. I was just saying, wasn't I? Every time you write, I'm right there in one of your posts. So tell us more about what it is that you do, Allysha, and what you write about.
I love it, Susie, honestly, because I feel like I should get second billing to magic, right? Like, what is magic is such an important question. So I'm Allysha Lavino,
Oh,
and
oh,
I
I love you.
am just objectively, come now. Um, so I'm a visionary author. And what that means is not just that I have big ideas, but that the way that I write invites you into your own spiritual journey. So I write stories um, that actually allow you to experience magical phenomena. And I had the amazing opportunity to work with the man who actually discovered the codes in the churches of the south of France that led to the Da Vinci Code. So Henry Lincoln was my mentor for a decade, and he taught me how to write, how to research, how to understand codes hidden through history, how to look back through ancient wisdom and pull out the salient threads and connect them with what we're doing here today. And through all of that, he taught me to be rigorous with the writing and rigorous and diligent with the research to keep the magic without throwing out the science. And so, really finding this beautiful balance in the way that we look at the world holistically. Um, Underneath that, the reason that he picked me to work with him is in part because of my willingness to allow things to move through me. And so there was very much a story that needed to be told. Here, I'll just do this. Anyway, this is my novel about, I don't like to say the real Da Vinci Code because that's a bit overused. But this is what the men who actually discovered the codes wanted us to know. And the reason that it didn't get published is because it's spiritually based. It's based in
Mm.
magic. It's based in the magic of our ancestors. And so it kept getting kind of shoved under the rug. Um, but the other reason he picked me is that I'm a hereditary seer. So there's this beautiful gift of seeing that runs down the line of my family. And so it's a way of looking at things and getting a lot more information than we might have on the surface. So when I, make the choice to look at something deeply, there's no other way to say it. There's a tremendous amount of information that comes through. And so I now
Mm.
use that to help coach and guide people who are ready to train and wake up their magic and really learn those skills of talking to trees, or it's everything from learning to deeply trust our intuition to know what's correct no matter what, to bending time and space, frankly.
I'm so excited. I'm struggling to control myself. So when it's all of these things just sing to my heart so deeply. When you've spoken about threads of knowledge and how these have been lost to time, these wild inner knowings that have been lost to being burnt at the stake as kind of wise, powerful women, and so much more persecution besides. What are some of the ways then that we can start to weave in this magic into our daily lives? You said in that
Mm.
paragraph, what, or those that are wanting to see and to hear beyond the realms of the physical. How do we start to weave that into our daily existence, the mundane?
What a great question, Susie. um, so for me, it's all about practice. If you think about our modern world, like if you always use a tool or something mechanized, if you always put your dishes in the dishwasher, you wouldn't really know how to wash dishes, right? And so that's kind of where we are now. We look to science for our explanations. We don't look inside. But you can imagine our ancestors way, way back, they didn't have this external reference. And so the automatic was looking inside. And so the first step is to begin to understand that our bodies, our cells, are the way that we are actually wired for interconnection with the entire universe has a huge amount of wisdom. So it's already there. You don't have to do anything. The question is, how do we access it?
Mm.
Right? So it's, if you don't know where a file is on a computer, you're not going to be able to get to it. So it's learning how to reconnect with what's already there. So the first practice that I teach all of my students is, it's so simple. It's a breathing technique that you've probably heard in a lot of classes or courses or even, gym class. And I call it the ha, which is the Hawaiian word. This is where I learned it. And they call it the breath of life. And it's literally just breathing in through the nose, down into the belly, moving the diaphragm, and out through the mouth. And you really want to hear that ha sound when you exhale. And what this does scientifically is it begins to engage your parasympathetic nervous system. So your resting system, it's a little bit of an altered state. We tend to walk around hyper aware, and this broadens our awareness. It softens it. But what happens when you start to breathe the ha as a practice is you start to feel the conversation your body is having with the outside world. Because it's air going in is coming in from the outside, and it's coming into your body. We don't think about how amazing this is. And then it's leaving again, but it's leaving, and now it feels and tastes and has that resonance of you. And so you are sending yourself out into the world.
Mm.
So you're taking in the air that the trees are breathing, and you're breathing it back out to them. And there's a conversation happening there. And so as we just start to get present to these small things, and I guarantee you, if you make a practice of going out and breathing the ha in daily life and actually concentrate on that for, more and more of your day, you will notice more of a connection. You will notice changes. You will begin to feel the conversation that's actually happening.
Oh, I adore that. And it leads perfectly into something else that you write about that I love. And this is something of embodiment and integration. I remember doing a womb healing class several years ago, and the tutor saying, she was telling her experience about how she'd lived her life outside of her body. And I remember thinking, oh, must be an awful, how terrible. And then I realized that in the weeks and months and years to follow, that's exactly how I'd lived my life. I'd been completely disembodied. So if we is disembodiment the same as being in survival mode, fight, flight, flop, fawn? Is that what would you say to what is disembodiment? In some, I think some shamanic practices describe it as soul retrieval, don't they? What how would you speak to us about all things disembodied?
So there are a lot of reasons that we leave the body in the first place. And I was just writing recently that, we don't always even come fully in as babies. So you can imagine, especially in this context, Susie, right? Like there's more to us than this body, right? So I call it soul or spirit, but there's some more eternal, ethereal essence. And when we come into a human body, this is small. It's limited, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, awkward. Like you can go on and on about all of the things that this human body is. But honestly, above all of that, for a soul that lives in this place of connection and conversation, the soul knows and sees the life inside of that tree. It connects instantly and completely with who that tree is and all of creation. And when we move into the human body, we lose that. And it is devastating. And so from a very early age, whether it's small children who actually come into their bodies and live embodied, you see this in them. We talk about this in children, right? You see them talking to the trees and seeing the soul of everything all around us. You also see the children who just didn't come fully in. They're kind of not present. They Yeah, I have a toddler right now, and this is something we work on all the time, is just reminding her to come back into her body, because there are 1,000 reasons to leave. So whether it's when we're watching TV, we're really not that present, right? We're somewhere between our brain and the screen. We're not really in the body. When we experience a trauma, it's it's a million times that. So we are designed to leave our bodies during trauma. This is an amazing thing about the human system. That dissociation is intentional. We are not supposed to be here when something terrible is happening to the physical system. In order to come back after that, we really need support, because the body, after it's experienced a trauma, is not always safe to come back into. It doesn't feel safe. And that's the beautiful work I see so many people doing on the planet right now. Thank you for everything you're doing, because everyone who does this carves space and makes it easier for everyone else to do it. So really, I'll just round of applause on that. But the process of embodying the soul really begins as just picturing You can do it right now. Just picturing and calling your soul back into your body and really asking what I call your team, the beautiful, the beautiful team of gods and guardians, angels and allies who's with you all the time, asking your team to just really help make this body a safe space right now for your soul to be here. And of course, there's a lot more that we can do to call in pieces that have been lost for different reasons and all that. But the first is just to invite yourself. You can place a hand on the heart, hand on the belly. In a lot of indigenous traditions, they say that the belly is the seat of the soul. And we really recognize that when we talk about gut instinct and intuition. This is your soul. It's talking,
Mm.
giving information.
And how interesting that that's often the part of us that's constricted through stuck in our stomach in, and all of the underwear that straps us in, and over the years and generations. You speak about exiled parts of us, and what does it look like then as we start to integrate those fragmented kind of parts? How do we know we're becoming whole and integrated?
Mm-hmm. What an interesting way to say that, Susie, because I struggle with this vocabulary as well. So let's start with we're all whole and sometimes we're scattered,
Mm,
right? Sometimes we're
mm,
not all in the same place.
mm,
Um, there are two different ways to answer this question. So on the one hand, I really recommend that you get to know your team and begin to work with them because they can help clear your body. They can help clear your aura space. They can help put correct boundaries. They can help call things in. I have several really powerful techniques that I use both in my energy magic sessions. So this is it's like a guided meditation, but the guidance comes through me and it actually guides people through practices that allow them to move energy. So you're doing real magic instead of just picturing relaxing.
mm,
Um, So I have techniques that we use for calling back the soul. But at the same time, this is something where if you have never ever done it before, I do recommend getting some kind of support because there are lots of different things in the universe. And so sometimes we're just scattered. So you can do a call your soul back to you right now, like a quick, like, yeah, anything that's ready to come in, team, please clear and heal this. Let it be whole and healed as it enters me. Right. So your team can do that work and you can call that back right now. It's very likely that not everything will return when you do that. And what tends to stay are the things that were lost in really severe traumas. So often, like if you, for example, if you were murdered in a past life, um, in a, you might have a soul piece that decided something and stayed in a place, or it left, or there are lots of more severe things that when they occur, we get severed in different ways. Um, And that I do sometimes recommend working with people because as the magic gets more complicated, um, it can be really nice just to have the help and support of somebody who
mm,
knows what that looks like. There are times when soul pieces might latch onto, it might be lovers, right? And one dies before the other and vows to stay. So you might be latched on to someone or something else. And you don't want to accidentally call that piece in too. You don't want to call something in that, and they're right in the middle of completing a healing there. And so you're severing. Do you know what I mean? There's just
mm,
there's nuance to it sometimes.
mm,
And this is part of the work that I do as a seer, but there are so many people out there who can help with that. Um, the one thing I say is whoever you choose to work with. I might be somebody who resonates with you, but I might not be. And there are tons of beautiful healers out there. Trust your body. Make sure that everything in you says they are good and trustworthy. There are a lot of people waking up right now who want to be helpful and their intentions are really good, but they just don't have the training yet. They're going to. But there are a lot of people right now who are teaching before their training, or just kind of teaching a little bit beyond their pay grade. So just trust yourself, you'll know.
I think that's fantastic advice, and I've experienced both sides of the coin there in my own journey, for sure. I think that's fantastic advice to trust the body. Is it a full body? Yes. When we are, sometimes we feel like we're stuck or stagnating, and yet in actual fact, perhaps in those times, we're actually integrating. How do we through this, because it's very difficult. I know for myself it's been very difficult in those times to believe, oh, I'm just screwed, or I'm completely stuck here. It's very difficult to believe, oh no, it's just all growth, it's all it's all good, it's all things are integrating. How in those times do we allow ourselves to be more in receivership mode, and to kind of, if we've known is struggle, or to kind of real grappling, efforting to prove our worth, how do we come to know, to allow ourselves to receive?
Yes, this is so important. The ancient Celts described everything as a cycle. And I think that this is such a helpful worldview. Like it's just deeply relaxing if you allow yourself to integrate this. So when it's winter, we do not expect to be running around and doing as much as we are in the summer. We don't expect that of ourselves. We don't want to. When it's really rainy, we don't always want to go out dancing. Nothing against dancing in the rain, but we don't always feel like that. And we're built for that. And when I take this literal, I think of it as the seasons. I'm like, oh, it's a winter day today. And when I take that idea and put it on other areas of my life, it's so relaxing because you can see spring comes and we start to get excited about something, and summer comes and we're in the fulfillment of it, and fall comes and we're kind of reaping the benefits, but you feel it winding down, and then winter comes. And it's dark and cold, and we can't get up sometimes. And so I think that allowing ourselves to impose that mental construct of that wheel of the year gives us permission to trust our bodies, because the body knows if you can't get up off the couch, that's because you're supposed to be on the couch. Now, that said, there are times when we can't get off the couch and the season never seems to end. So again, for that, the biggest thing I can recommend is get some help. And because when you are trying to get somewhere, it's really easy. Pardon me, my headset's changing its mind about things.
It's having a little integrative moment.
I love that. I get derailed by technology every now and then, and it's like, we'll change gears. Okay. I'm going to just settle in and see what there is to say, because often when things come in from the outside world, it's like, okay, stop that. So I think that one of the biggest factors I've seen of when we feel stuck and it is staying that way is the energy. We have an energetic system that is as complex as the body. It extends out beyond the body. We call it the aura in a lot of traditions. And it's really sensitive. So in the same way, you can look at the physical body. If the physical body is sick, you feel yucky. When the energy body is dealing with being bombarded from the outside by energies that don't match who you are, we don't function well. And so learning how, and this is one of the things that I fundamentally teach, is learning how to take care of your energy body in the same way that you take care of your physical body. And I know there are a lot of works about this and a lot of nuance and complexity. And I kind of joke because you take someone like Donna Eden, who's written a lot of books like this, and there are a lot of hyper complex systems about the energy centers. And for me, that's like a high level surgeon. What I do is kind of like your family doctor. It's like just learn how to eat healthy and exercise, right? It's that level. It's the basic what every human should know, bring in the light, connect with the earth, clear your aura, come back to sovereignty, connect with the heart, breathe into the belly. Like it's the really basic stuff on the one hand, but it's incredibly profound in terms of shifting um, those places of being stuck.
I love that. Um, I read a fantastic sentence this week, and it said, "What if you're not failing to surrender? What if you are already surrendered and just don't like how it feels?" And I thought that was fantastic because if we've not been used to, I think sometimes there's this, and I think this will play into one of the next question about your book club, but this kind of needing sometimes to see physical, tangible evidence of moving forward, of progression on our journey, of perhaps bringing in more money, bringing in more ease, bringing in love, whatever it's the things that we are desiring. And yet sometimes we need that physical, we've surrendered, but it feels really kind of quite challenging. Would you speak to us a little about the journey of surrender? It's a huge topic, I know, but what is it to surrender, and how can we do that with any kind of grace? Can it be graceful, Allysha?
Yes, and it's often uncomfortable. I know in my own life, discomfort is a bit of a signpost. So even just this past weekend, I was struggling to slow down. I had a big week last week, got a big week this week, and I really wanted to just rest in between. I wanted that time to be meaningful. Um, and I couldn't quite get my body to go slowly. And so I kind of sat with that and said, okay, well, what if this is what my body's like? What if this is the speed that my body is going? And as I did that, I noticed a little bit of an opening and a little bit of discomfort. And that discomfort for me was like, oh yeah, like yeah, that's where it is. It's allowing myself to be however I am. It's not about slowing down and doing this thing that I think that I'm supposed to do or that I hope would feel good. It's about just recognizing that, yeah, maybe, and we don't get to know, but maybe the reason that my schedule is, full last week and this week is because there's a lot of energy there. And so it's okay that my body is full of energy, even on the weekend in between two big weeks. And I can make that up and it makes my mind feel better. But the truth is, my body's just doing what my body's doing. We can do a quick exercise to help. Yeah.
That'd
I
be
always like when we
wonderful.
can do the
Yeah,
experiential, let's get something out of
that would
this
be
instead of just me
fantastic.
talking.
Amazing. Yeah.
Um, so as we talked about, the belly is the seat of the soul. Um, and the belly is where we tend to clench. And as women in particular, this is intentional. They put corsets on us for thousands of years to keep us from connecting with that deep intuition. So I invite you just to place a hand on the belly. There's a tremendous amount of energy in our hands. And take a breath into the belly. So that's through the nose, filling the lungs, feeling the diaphragm descend and the belly expand. And just have a small conversation with your belly and invite those muscles to relax. What we notice as we begin to relax the muscles of the belly, rather than just relaxing the whole body, is it kind of highlights things for us. So it might highlight tensions in other areas of the body. It might highlight discomfort. So I invite you to just picture whatever you notice, whatever sensations, whether it's sensations in the belly or any other part of the body. Imagine they're all children. They're the cutest kids you've ever seen. They're all very well behaved and lovely, and they're just coming up to you with big eyes and little smiles. And just imagine that you're giving them a great big hug. And they're just kind of surrounding you in a way that feels so loving, and you're beaming love back to them and just having this interaction with them exactly as they are, in the innocence that they actually embody, allowing yourself to be however you are. And now check in with the belly, inviting the belly to relax even a little bit further. Notice any other sweet children who pop in and giving them a great big hug. And this is something you can do absolutely anytime. The more you do it, the more you will get access to the intuitive powers of the belly. And the key to this is really whatever it takes for you to picture. If you're an animal person, picture kitties or bunnies or dogs or whatever it is, but really seeing whatever shows up for you as something vulnerable and innocent and lovable. And just use your mind to impose that on, oh, my knee hurts. Oh, sweet bunny, oh, poor knee. Let's love it. Because as we do that, and we can use the amazing power of the imagination and the mind to insert these images, but as we do that, we're actually just doing the hard work of giving ourselves permission to be who and how we are, which is the entire act of surrender and letting go and being present and being embodied and all of those things.
I really love that. I'm so aware of your time, Allysha. Do you have time for a couple of more questions? How are you
Yeah,
with time? Are you sure
I'm
you're
okay right now. Yeah.
because I know we try to keep these conversations to about 30 minutes, but so sometimes it's there's so many, I have so many questions to ask. um there was just it was thanks to you that you it was and your book club that you've put me onto the phenomenal book by Sarah McCrum, The Love Money Loves You. And I sense that for a lot of people, myself included, that we're kind of walking that razor edge at the moment between that kind of knowing, and again, it comes back to the embodying. We know that we're yielding fruit, but it's just beyond the kind of visible spectrum right now. And just uh, by way of example, I wonder whether I can find. Oh, I thought I had it right to hand. Let me see if it's here. Oh, I wanted to list to you all of the the courses, books, podcasts, the things that it just goes on and on and on. I wish I could find it just to kind of make the point sometimes how much we've kind of invested in wanting to manifest our heart's desires, but it sometimes feels like a little bit beyond the realm of tangibility. What would you say? How has this book impacted the way your relationship with money and the art of receiving?
Okay. You have hit the nail on the head there, Susie. So this is the line, right? That's the line of magic. So science is everything in the physical world we can see and explain, and then magic begins, right? And you can imagine that line's going to move as science gets better and better. But it's the same thing with money, right? Because money, in order to spend it and interact with it, we need it to be in the physical world. That's pretty important. Everything that's happening in the invisible is great and magical and wonderful, and we might sense and experience it in some ways, but it's not going to buy dinner. So, so I can definitely relate to having done a lot of work on the ethereal side of things in the past. And what I love about Love Money, Money Loves You is that even though it's technically by Sarah McCrum, and she is certainly the one who, had the pen in the page or the keyboard or whatever it was, because it is written as a channeled book from the energy of money, it is unlike any other work I've done. And it's funny because I'm very skeptical of channeled works, not because I don't believe in channeling. I've channeled. I understand that channeling happens, but you never know who you're channeling, right? So just because they're on the other side doesn't mean they're grounded. Like that's one of the things one of my teachers used to say. It's like, you could cross over and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna go tell Susie that she should write this, but they're not any more of an authority.
Although I wouldn't mind it if I was channeling you, Allysha. You can... that would be quite cool. Well, I mean, not we want you around for
I
a
love it.
long time.
I have to say though, most of the cool things that come out of my mouth are coming through me anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know how much use I'd be. But what's great about what Sarah McCrum's done is she's bringing through the energy of money. And money is an energy that I had previously tried to connect with. And there was one time when I was staying in a very rich area of France where I was actually able to connect with this energy who talks to us in this book. And it was really powerful and beautiful and so soft. And there's a reason that luxury feels so good. It's this really loving energy that really does want wonderful things for us. Um, and I've never been able to connect in the way that I'm able to with this book. Um, what's interesting and amazing is it's really rigorous in a totally spiritual way. So the funnest and most challenging thing for me is like money is like you have to enjoy your life. And I was raised in a, Puritan descendant family that with a crazy awesome work ethic. Like if you value a work ethic, come see my family.
Wow.
And so it's been really challenging for me to flip that script from if I put my head down and buckle down, that is what is going to earn me what I want, as opposed to no, you need to enjoy. And um, one of the most profound things that happened since I've been reading this book is there was one day when I was tired. like supernaturally tired. I was just flattened on the couch. And I literally laid on the couch and kept kind of like dragging myself up to my computer to try to get some work done. And I said, no, no, I'm not enjoying this. This does not feel right. And I went down to the basement, turned the TV on, and watched my guilty pleasure show in the middle of the day. Like, this is insane behavior for me. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. I'm just gonna enjoy it. And I sat and watched the show. And while I sat and watched the show, I got a notification that a new client had come in from nowhere. Like, even they don't know where they found me. I've never heard of this person. This person was not on my mailing list. Nobody has any idea how they got to me. And they have since signed up for one of my best, like my magical mentorship, which is my flagship program where we work one on a regular basis to train your magic. And this is something that I couldn't have created. Like, I couldn't have just gone on and worked and created this.
Mm.
But when I followed the instructions from this book, it absolutely dropped out of nowhere.
Mm. Oh, magic. It is a very powerful, it's like nothing I've ever quite read before. And there was certain things that I just really shifted my, there was, yeah, I mean, there was the one particularly around, sometimes I've gone into shops where there's um no cashiers because it's all kind of done by AI or, self-serve. And I would be all like kind of, righteously indignant, like, oh, this is putting people out of work. And it really shifted my perception on that massively.
Mhm.
And it kind of really sped that, brought that much more up to date, with that kind of real resistance towards actually, well, I'll spoil the surprise if I go into it. I think everyone should read it and join your book club to boot. But yeah, I'm so grateful to you for putting me onto that book. It's beyond powerful.
And I think
Oh
it's
no,
worth saying here, Susie, sorry not to cut you off, but because people won't have read the book for the most part when they're listening to this,
mm,
um, that while the book is Love Money, Love Money Loves You, and it's about, manifesting money in this world and da 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 da. Um, but it's really about joy. It's
yeah,
about creating a life that is deeply
mm,
fulfilling and just taps you in with the interconnected universe. It's about the contribution you are and the relationships that make up your whole life. And so I think that's really important because when we hear money, we tend to somehow separate that from spirit. And this is putting money squarely back in the spiritual realm where it has always belonged. And
mm,
I see a future where spiritual people are actually really well off, like have plenty of money so that we can do all those beautiful things of buying local and supporting all of the things
yeah,
that, I mean, what would spiritual people do if we all had
yeah,
so much money? Like, we would do the best things. So let's
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, all of the ethical clothes and the handmade, homegrown, organic, all of the beautiful
All right.
local sellers. Oh, yes.
Fair wages for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
our dreams are really, they're juicy and
Yeah.
wonderful, and they deserve to have the weight of the
Mm,
financial system behind them.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so, so much for that. Just finally, before I let you go, what would you say to those who are wanting to put their work, their magic, their gifts, their skills out into the world? Sometimes we have so much fear, and it takes so much to work through that, and it's just sometimes easy to think, I can't keep putting myself through this. I'm just going to retreat and hide under a rock forevermore. What would you say to anyone wanting to shift their relationship with fear?
Yeah. So I'm such a huge fan of practice. Consider that most of the stuff that is holding you back is just a pattern that was carved into your brain when you were so young that you didn't really have a choice about it. And every single time you choose to think a different thought, even if you don't believe it, even if you just say, like, I'm worthy, I can do this, and you create a pathway. And as you run down that thought pathway, you carve it deeper and wider. Imagine a trail through the forest. Imagine there's no trail through the forest and you're just cutting through the underbrush. Now imagine you go back the same way and again and again and again and again. And slowly over time, we create these super highways. And you can create the I can super highway. All it takes is walking down that pathway. And I know it feels hard at first. I started out like anybody else. I was terrified to be seen, to be known. I couldn't imagine actually talking about magic in public. I did this in private, but how could I put myself out on the internet saying that I know magic is real? You know, we all have those thoughts and feelings.
Mm.
And so you're super normal. I don't like this word normal, but sometimes it's helpful to just be like, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a thing. Um, yeah. And oh, there was one other thing, but I think it's gone.
What does heretic mean? That was a spark of joy for me when I
Mm,
read that in your publication.
yay. So heretic is an ancient Greek word of ancient Greek origin, and it means one who is able to choose. So they didn't burn people at the stake for being witches or believing this or that. It was fundamentally just for choosing.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that hit a chord for sure. So, should people choose to connect with your magic, where would you like them to go? Where shall they find you?
Yay. So I am often on Substack. You can find me. We'll put all the links in the show notes, but
I will. Mm.
alicialavino.substack.com. You can also find me at alicialavino.com, and there you can learn more about my energy magic work. You can check out my book, which is all about the codes hidden in the
Mm.
churches in the south of France. But it's really the ancient secret that our ancestors hid for us, and it's written in a way to really take you on your own journey so that you can begin to train and uncover your magic. I also want to invite everyone who feels connected with that sense of magic in the world or who wants to and who would like to know more about that, to learn more about that, to train, to come on over and join the inner sanctum of heretics at Mystery Magic and Mayhem, because we have, for an insanely low price every month, we have all kinds of actual live events and training throughout the month. So like any one of these events would normally be, $25 here or $50 there. And it's like $7 a month, because what we're up to is just reawakening magic on planet Earth. So we just get together, we have our heretic happy hour. Every month we have an energy magic session. And um, as we were talking about, we have the Heretic Reading Circle, and every month we read a different, amazingly powerful book that helps you to touch into your own magic.
And oh, what's the word? The word's gone. But I second your I did one of your replays in your last night, and it is phenomenal. For less than, in British terms, it's less than a cup of coffee now. It's like
Mhm.
less than £5. So definitely, I encourage everyone to sign up to that for on a monthly basis. It's fantastic. I'm really, really appreciative. So yeah.
I actually just lowered my prices because I wanted this to be accessible for everyone. And I had to email Substack to say, hey, no, I want to lower my prices for everyone, even people who signed up before. Like, this is silly. I don't want money to be a thing. I want us to come and train our magic.
Yeah. Ah, well, I'm super grateful for our chat today. Bless you for your time, Allysha. Thank you, and
Oh,
yeah, we'll speak soon.
This was magical, Susie. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Oh, just for a second, I thought I'd